Doom doodly doom doom doom. God. There will be violence. There will be some non-violent protests. It's already happening. Right after the election, people started burning the flag. And to those people whose sensibilities are offended by this destruction of a symbol of America, I have another message. Hi! You're probably wondering why this is happening, or perhaps you've already made up your mind. These are just sore losers, right? Hypocrites who only believe in the concept of democracy when it suits them. They're willing to destroy a symbol of this great country just to throw a hissy fit. What a bunch of unpatriotic whiners. I understand the sentiment. But might I suggest an alternative explanation? There might be a pattern to those who are protesting and those who are looking down on them, like you are. See, you don't have anything at stake right now. If you truly believe that Trump was the right choice, or were convinced that he might not be so bad, you have nothing to fear. But there are individuals, entire groups even, that are living in fear right now. They are horrified that we have elected a bully as our national leader, one who rose to power riding a wave of hateful language toward entire countries and groups, not to mention the personal attacks. And whatever you may think of those groups personally, and to whatever extent you may be able to forgive Trump for using such language in his pursuit of the office, it is undeniable, I will say it again, undeniable, that such language scared a lot of people. This language was used pretty consistently compared to the rest of Trump's campaign. One of the central themes of his campaign has been demeaning, devaluing, and outright threatening certain groups of people that have lived happily, legally, and safely in this country for many years. And unsurprisingly, his followers in the general population have picked up on this, and taken matters into their own hands, terrorizing these individuals that have been singled out by this administration. And this is apart from the potential cost that even the privileged face under this administration. The fear that these people feel is objectively justified. Just as justified as any of your fears. Whether you share those fears is irrelevant. The reality is that those fears are real, and the potential for suffering is real and palpable. Real and palpable enough for some people to stop believing in some of the core principles that America supposedly stood for, like opportunity, equality, freedom, and justice. And fear makes people do crazy things. You should know. So whether or not you agree with the sentiment or the action, it should be somewhat understandable that this disappointment, frustration, and anger resulting from dismissal, delegitimation, and disenfranchisement could manifest itself in some kind of protest, including some violence and some symbol destruction. Some of these reactions are criminal, some are merely distasteful, and some may be morally reprehensible, but they all have a reason behind them. So maybe don't be so surprised that some of us are not going to take this lying down and pretend everything's okay, when we have so much reason to believe that it's not. End of monologue. Bro. Resistance is working. I never thought it would be possible, but this nonviolent resistance is working. Companies are breaking ties, courts are putting their foot down on policies of dubious morality and constitutionality. Politicians are acting as Trump's censorship committee, as if the president should need one. And down on the ground, we have soldiers working for us. The people are rising up and speaking out. I have no grand illusions about this. This will not be a big, sweeping revolution like it was in the 60s. But then again, the 60s weren't either. The first protest movements in the 60s were about much of the same things that they are about now. Selectively restricted rights and opportunities for vulnerable populations. Lack of respect and acknowledgement of the democratic will from authorities of all levels. And threatened rights to free speech and press from individuals who thought they no longer had to be subtle in their futile attempts to control all of their social reality. And after the 60s, the culture did change, but for several reasons. What the protests were about were just the people pushing back. Throughout this frightening time, there's been this shadow looming over us, telling us that we're screwed on so many levels. But these little ways in which we push back can make a difference. They already are, and it's our job to make sure they continue. When I saw this all start to happen, I was reminded of something. Government truly does derive its power from the consent of the governed. And what they don't realize, what Trump doesn't realize, is that we can take that power back anytime we want. We can say to him and his allies, we do not consent to his governance or the way in which he intends to use it. And we are, right now. We're showing him that even though through some undemocratic twist of cruel fate he now sits in the most powerful office in the free world, he does so in order to represent the people of the free world. And it is damn well our job to keep him honest. Many of us after the election felt like we had been spoken for, and that whoever spoke for us was in some way despicable. But we haven't been spoken for. All this means is that we have to work even harder to speak for ourselves, and to make sure they hear it, all the way in Washington. That office does not give him the power to do whatever he will, nor does it make him smarter, better informed, braver, more moral, or more qualified or able to do the job. Nor does it mean that we, the recipients of his consequences, don't matter anymore, or that he can forget about any opposition he faced before. Because we're still here. and we're not going anywhere. So help me God. Pro. Everything happens for a reason. Let me be clear, I am not suggesting that Trump was inevitable or preordained or right to happen. What I'm saying is that there are reasons why this happened. There are explanations. The day after the election, I had to attend a stats course at 10 a.m. We were all still dumbfounded by the results, and none of us were even looking forward to being awake that day. But since our stats professor was poli-sci by training, we just spent the whole class going over how the pollsters got it so wrong and why. You'd think it had been salt in the wound, but it was actually really helpful to just demystify the situation. I'm the kind of person for whom being stuck not knowing is so much worse than knowing something bad, because then at least I can work my way forward from there. Pro! Have you ever wanted to be a superhero? Did this election make you want to fight for what's truly right? Fight for an end to bigotry, intolerance, ignorance, and hatred? Well, you still can. Granted, we will all need to lick our wounds for a while. I certainly have. I restricted my Facebook use, I've reduced my discussion of it in public, I've been playing the He Who Must Not Be Named game with our president's last name, a sentence which confirms itself. And of course, this is my first video since then. But after the election, I was privy to some meetings in the department at the university where I work. And among other things, we talked about how we as teachers should respond to these events. The department really rallied together, around each other and around the students. And I learned about something else too. This is my safety pin. For those of you who haven't heard, it is a symbol that was adopted after Brexit happened. Another event in which many uneducated, misinformed, fearful, ignorant people, with some realistic and some unjustified concerns, voted for a calamitous decision. The safety pin was meant to signify a person who has volunteered to be a bastion of tolerance and civil rights, and a guardian of civility and decency. It also designates a safe space for diversity, freedom, and equality when displayed in a location. As you can see, I wear mine crossed over my heart, and pretty prominently, like a sheriff's star, or a superhero symbol. Why? Well, besides needing to be visible in order for it to work, I feel proud to continue to support my beliefs in this way. I feel the need to communicate to the world that I am taking the matter of public safety into my own hands in some small way. It shows that I am volunteering to have some skin in the game. As a member of several social status categories, this would not otherwise be the case. It inspires others to be a force for good, and warns still others to beware my conviction, for I will defend my fellow human beings against their acts of hatred. For those of you who share my beliefs, congratulations. With a simple safety pin, you are now a sheriff's deputy, a member of a Citizens Justice League. We are all now called to be heroes for each other. Heroes who not only defend our values, but who defend each other, as proof of defending our values. The stakes have rarely been higher, and we need all the superheroes we can get. We need you. In the past, when several groups of people made seemingly popular, very bad decisions that threatened the livelihoods of millions, the people who fought against them had a name. The Allies. Please join us. Be our allies, and wear your symbol with pride and resolution. It is a commitment that I have not taken lightly, nor do I think you should either. But it is one that I consider worth any potential risk to my person or to my reputation. On a local and corporate level, there are several ways in which you can help the causes that you support. Sign petitions, join gatherings, engage discussions. Find constructive ways to express your informed opinion on a public forum. Donate to campaigns and organizations. Volunteer. Or simply be available for friends to talk to. Many of us now have the opportunity to be someone's superhero. To be the person someone can depend on when the world seems turned against them, when chances seem slim. We have the opportunity to go up to someone who is scared and say, I know, I'm scared too. And that's all right. Hold my hand, and we will cross this field of fire together, because you are not alone. Call it whatever you want, quote whatever you want. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing, be the change you want to see in the world. You know what I call it? Being a hero. Join our Justice League, my friends and fellow nerd fighters. Let us fight for what's right, and let us never forget to be awesome. So I guess I'm equally good at speaking harshly and inspiringly. But today, I'm more focused on inspiring. Why? Because that's what we need right now. I've had 4 months to mope and scowl, and a lot of those cons are pretty obvious by now. And y'all don't need me to mulch over them once again just to upset you. It's the new year. It's time to move forward, through our obstacles, into the breach. And so even though my sadness exists, and I will still let it run the show from time to time, I will not stop. I will not quit. I will not despair, because defeatism is not an actionable position, and the world may be broken, but hope is not crazy. And as long as I'm waxing inspirational and quotable, let me just say this. Rebellions are built on hope. Hope is what we need right now. I hope I've given you some. I love you all. Be strong. World, I'll see you tomorrow.